Burlesque Stripped Down, episode number 38. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Velvet Eau Claire, your guide through all of the secrets of us, the ladies and gents behind the tassels. I am super excited to be bringing you today's hot tipped episode, which is following with the tradition of the last few months. A little bit of insight into my own personal mind with my personal July favorites. These are things that I either discovered or rediscovered during the month of July that have just been giving me so much happiness and so much pleasure over the month. So I want to share them with you in the hopes that you might discover them as well and that you'll share some of your discoveries with me. So if you have some of the things that you've just been loving over the last month or so, definitely send me an email, velvet@burlesquestripdown.com. I would love to hear all about them, whether they're burlesque related or not, anything that that tickles your fancy lately. So please don't hesitate to share with me any of your thoughts, your favorite things. What's making you happy? What is it these days? For me, I've got quite a list here, but it was really easy to come up with this list. I've been trying to, kind of make notes throughout the month as well, so I don't forget anything. I have to start off with basically the entire city of Chicago. My number one favorite thing from July. It was just amazing. For those of you who don't know, I was actually up in Chicago during, I think it was the second week of July for Podcast Movement Conference. More on that in a second. But just being up in Chicago, I actually hadn't been there since I was probably a little girl. I grew up in Wisconsin, but I didn't really visit Chicago too much as I got older. And then certainly not since I've moved away from the Midwest. So being there as a grown-up was really, really amazing. I got to stay right downtown as well, which was fantastic to get to walk around in that area. I was fortunate to meet some new friends as well as reconnect with an old friend that were able to show me around different areas of the city and really give me a glimpse into what it would be like to live there. And it's just, that's what I love the most about traveling. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of traveling, and it's for that reason that I am. It's just, it's inspiring, and it really kind of gets my blood moving in a new way. Didn't hurt that the weather was perfect. I think it rained one day out of the week that I was there. And, of course it was July, so it was beautiful, nice warm weather. I'm sure it might not be quite as beautiful in the same way anyway, if I visited in January or something like that. It would take my body a little while to get used to winter in the Midwest anyway, but it was great. It was really a wonderful time, and I'd like to thank everybody that was there that made it so special, including everyone involved with this next favorite of mine, which was the conference itself, Podcast Movement 2016. Words can't express. I had such an amazing time. I actually went up and I volunteered at the conference. I thought that would be a good way, to save some money on the ticket cost, but also to contribute my skills, to make some contacts, and to kind of have a chance to get to know people that I wouldn't have otherwise met necessarily, or met more than just a brief networking. And really, I couldn't have asked for a better experience. The team of volunteers, including the people who led the event, who led us volunteers, we had an amazing team of people, and some of us got there a little bit early to kind of stuff the conference bags, the bags that you get for free, with all of the flyers and goodies and all of that. So we spent a lot of the first day just walking through doing the same mundane tasks for hours and hours as we stuffed those bags. But it was so much fun because we got to talk and connect in a way that was wonderful. So a huge, huge shout out to all of my other volunteers that I met and bonded with. I think we made some good contacts, and I feel very fortunate to know you. And a huge also thank you to the organizers of the conference as well, and to all of the speakers and other podcasters that were there outside of the production team. It was really great. I got to see some of my favorite podcasters who spoke or were just attending the conference. So to connect with them, no matter how briefly it was, I got to speak with some of them one-on-one. And that was really, really amazing. Didn't hurt as well. I also got to see Kevin Smith of Mallrats and Clerks fame. He was our keynote speaker for the opening keynote of the conference, and it was really fun. I love listening to him talk. He's very funny, but he's also had some really good wisdom that left me very invigorated. So I really, all I can say is from that whole week in Chicago, between the conference as well as all of my friends and the new experiences, went to a few theater shows, got to see Red Hot Annie. I didn't get to see her, but I got to see her student showcase for her Vaudzilla troupe. And so all of that just left me feeling incredibly invigorated, incredibly excited about what the future might hold, and incredibly motivated to get some things done. So I'm really trying to keep that going. As any of you who have been on these type trips before, you might know that once you get home, it's hard to keep that momentum, keep that feeling up. So that's something I've been actively working to do. Everything from having a picture of Chicago as my kind of lock screen on my telephone, to just, looking at photos more often, to having, certain songs playing in my head. Just the little reminders. I've actually been wearing one of the wristbands that we got at kind of one of those like Live Strong style bracelets, but a swag one. Speaking of which, I'd also, of course, like to thank anybody who gave away swag, especially the companies AWeber, Patreon, EOFire, and I believe podcast websites, because they had killer swag at this conference. I'm talking really, really awesome swag, including new t-shirts. So I got to kind of replenish my my wardrobe a little bit. Podcast websites had a ton of different things. I got an awesome notebook from them, and this this bracelet that I was mentioning that I've just been wearing as a reminder. I mean, I get to, kind of advertise podcast websites a little bit, but also just as a reminder of what's important to me. So I highly recommend, if you ever have one of those experiences that really just, gets your juices flowing, gets you motivated, gets you feeling something, whether it's something like BHoF or BurlesqueCon or even just a certain show or whatever it is, try to find some little physical trinket and keep it with you. Or have it somewhere that you can see it, and don't let it just become a part of your surroundings. Really, every time you look at it, remember that feeling and remember what you got from that experience. So anyway, those were definitely the top things that happened to me in July. My top favorites in the month of July were just the city of Chicago and the wonderful people inside of it, as well as Podcast Movement 16 more specifically. I am so looking forward to PM 17, which is going to be held out in Anaheim. And that's going to be, I believe that's next August 2017. So anyone that is out in that area, definitely get in touch, because I will be looking to see some burlesque when I go there. As far as a rediscovery, this is something that happens every few months or sometimes every few years. I rediscover belly dance. I love it so much. I've been dancing. Basically, I've been taking level 1 classes pretty inconsistently since 2006 maybe, when I was living in Ireland, and I found this class there and I started taking it. But it's just been very sporadic. I've never been able to go more than a few months at a time because of my personal schedule and moving and things like that. So every now and then I go. I still don't really branch out much past levels 1, maybe level 2. So I'm still very much a beginner, despite the fact that I have been, quote, belly dancing for almost 10 years, but it's still, it's not something I've ever done. I've never performed with it or anything like that. It's just kind of fun. And so I've started going back to the classes again at Orlando Belly Dance. Shout out to Suspira and all of the great crew at Orlando Belly Dance, because they do a wonderful job of making everyone feel really welcome. So as soon, I've been trying to get down there about once a week at least to kind of get that going again, because that is a really, really fun time. With that, I am actually trying to lose a little bit of weight, just to feel a little bit better about myself and to have a little more energy. I noticed that when I gain a little more weight, I become more sluggish. So I'm working on that just for myself. And I have actually joined Planet Fitness. So Planet Fitness is also one of my favorites this month. It's a brand new thing, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. It's a nice, for those of you who live in America and know this, it is the judgment-free zone. So you can go and you feel really good about the fact that no one really cares what anybody else is doing. There's no judgment there. It's very welcoming staff, very welcoming everything. Gosh, I sound like I'm doing a commercial for them. They have not actually paid me to say all this. I just really enjoyed it. I have actually been a big fan of the idea of pairing activities lately. So this pairing is kind of when you kind of attach one activity to another activity. And you know that you don't really do one without the other. So, for example, for me, I really love the show Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. I actually find him, I really love like Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart and everyone, but I find John Oliver to be, I think, in my opinion, funnier even. And I really love his delivery and his approach to things. So I've actually paired that with the bike at Planet Fitness. So I now only watch Last Week Tonight if I am on the bike, the stationary bike at the gym. I will not let myself watch it when I'm at home. And that gives me some incentive, especially on Monday morning or whenever it is, Tuesday, early in the week, to kind of go and do my gym workout because I know I get to watch John Oliver. Of course, I do more than just 30 minutes, throughout the week. So I will also watch other shows and listen to other podcasts. But that at least I know is one paired activity. So I've really been enjoying that. The other thing that Planet Fitness has that I have been loving is this hydro massage bed. I don't know if any of you have heard of it before, but it's a long bed that you lay on, and they use water jets that kind of come up and massage basically up and down your body. And man, does it feel good. I really like it. And because I have the black card at Planet Fitness, I get unlimited hydro massage for free. So that is a pretty great little incentive. So it's been nice to kind of round out my gym trips with a hydro massage. And actually, even just talking about it, I'm feeling like I might want to go have one tonight. That might be kind of nice. And I never say that about the gym ever. So that's another one of my favorites. Another favorite, if you listen to the last few favorites episodes, I mentioned that I did move into a new house, and I have, been slowly purchasing things to make it feel more like home. So I did buy some new curtain panels off of Woot.com. If you know Woot, they do daily sales and specials, WOOT.com. So I bought some new blackout curtains that are this nice, deep purple color that I really love. But even more than that, I bought this set of sheets at Big Lots. Yeah, I said it. Big Lots. It's not exactly where you would expect to get good quality sheets. And who knows if they're actually great quality. I've only had them a week now. But they are real nice. They're kind of like in between a cotton and a silk. So they're not too silky, but they're not, but they have that little bit of softness more than just cotton. And man, I paid $12 for this set. I gotta brag about that for a second. $12 for this set with 4 pillowcases and 2 sheets. Amazing. And they are just super comfy, and the color just really works to make me happy. I can't say enough about kind of making somewhere feel a little bit more your own with just these little things that you can get to really feel like you, especially in colors. I've been listening a lot to Gretchen Rubin, who I actually met at Podcast Movement, and her sister Elizabeth. I can't remember Elizabeth's last name, but Elizabeth. And they have a podcast called Happier. And in it lately, they've been talking a lot about this idea of getting a signature color for yourself. So finding a color that really captures you, that really feels like you. Maybe you have a lot of accessories in that color, just something that is your signature color. And while I don't know that I have a specific signature color, I've been loving the idea of just having these little pops of color in general. For me, it's been purple lately. That's just really made me happy. It's just really been sticking out. So that's been lovely. That's one of my favorites. Speaking of podcasts, this happened just a few days ago, just at the very tail end of July. I discovered a new sex podcast called Sex Gets Real. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, you may know that I do love the Pleasure Mechanics. They do a show called Speaking of Sex, and I've been loving their show for a while. And they featured a woman named Dawn on one of their recent episodes, and she is a host of another podcast called Sex Gets Real. And I've listened to just a few episodes now, but I love her, like really, really down to earth, really funny, approachable way to talk about sex and everything that goes along with sex. I mean, everything. So if you get a second, I will link that up in the show notes for this episode so you can go and check that out because it is a fabulous podcast to add to your subscriptions. I also finally recently went into the store called the World Market. There's one here, there's several around in the Central Florida area. I'm not sure if they exist where you are, but it's a great little store. They have a lot of, not necessarily all imported things, but just kind of interesting, something a little bit more different maybe than the stuff you would get at, say, IKEA or even Pier 1. But it's a lot of like housing things. But mostly I was excited for their food section and their cider section, because let me tell you, they have a cider there called Rekorderlig. Or I suppose if you're actually Swedish, you might say Rekorderlig, right? I don't know if that's the real Swedish way to say it, but when we anglicize it, we can say Rekorderlig. And this is a cider that I used to drink all the time back when I lived in Ireland in like 2006, 2007. And I have been able to find it here at the occasional bar that has craft beers, but I've never been able to find it at a store that I could take home. And I found it at the World Market. So I am super excited. I am more than willing to pay $2.50 per can because I don't care, because it's delicious. It's very, very sweet, but it's a strawberry lime cider. They have some other flavors as well, but I like the strawberry lime. So if you have a World Market where you are, definitely check it out and grab some Rickarderlig to enjoy with your next night at home. Recently, I also found out that one of the movie theaters near me hosts something called Flashback Cinema. Now, this is a nationwide, in the U.S., a nationwide thing at different participating cinemas. Doesn't matter what company they are, as if they've signed up, called Flashback Cinema, and it's where they show old movies. Not old, but, movies from our generation on the big screen once again. So I love this idea. They do it once a week. I think it's only through the summer, but they might extend it all year. I wish they did it all year round because it's a really, really great way to get more people in the movie theaters. I think it's on Sundays and Wednesdays. So a time when you might not normally go to the theater. But last week, my mother and I went to see Back to the Future. And that was just so fun to see on the big screen again. I hadn't hardly seen that in years, much less on the, ever on the big screen, I don't think. So coming up for the rest of the season, I think this week is going to be not Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think it's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, I believe. And then later on, they'll be doing Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which is one of my favorites. And all of these different movies, I think Top Gun's coming later, things like that. So definitely check that out. Try to get in one if there's one near you before the end of the season. And maybe we should all email them all at one time, try to get them to do it all year long. So that's been one of my favorite things, as well as getting to go see some of those classic, movies from my childhood on the big screen. As far as some food stuffs, not too much new. I've been eating a lot of the same old, but I have rediscovered Publix lemonade that I really love. Publix, for those of you who don't know, is the best grocery store chain on the planet. It's down here, I think, just in the Southeast. And their tagline is, where shopping is a pleasure. And it truly is. I sound so cliche when I say it, but it really, really is a pleasure to go there. I love that store for a lot of different reasons. But lately it's because of their lemonade. They have this really nice, store brand lemonade, fresh lemonade stuff that is not too sweet and not too tart, just hits the spot right in the middle. Now, the very last thing that I would like to add to my July favorites list is the beautiful, the wonderful, the intelligent, the inspiring First Lady of our country, the United States of America, and that is Michelle Obama. If you missed out on her speech at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, watch it right now. I think it's only about 10 or 15 minutes long, and it is so inspiring. It brought me to tears. It got me feeling things that I hadn't felt in a very long time. And so she is just a phenomenal human being. And I think I was speaking about this with my mom the other day. I think a lot of us, especially those of us who live in America, have over the last 8 years started to take for granted our first family and the elegance and the poise that they put out there. Political things aside, I don't care if you are a Democrat, if you support President Obama and his policies. I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the image they put across. And like I said, the elegance and the poise with which they conduct themselves is just phenomenal. And to watch, the girls, the Obama girls that have turned, that have grown from children to young adults, and Michelle Obama and her poise and her grace and her kindness, and President Obama as well. I mean, it just really is inspiring to me, not to mention the fact that they are an African-American family. I mean, that as well is just, you really think about what that means, the fact that we have had that. I don't know. I could go on and on, but it was just, those 10 minutes of Michelle Obama's speech at the DNC were just 10 minutes that really resonated with me and really made me remember why I actually do love my country, which I don't say that very often because I'm not a blind patriot, and there are a lot of things I don't love about America, but Michelle Obama, she's one I do love. So definitely check that out. I will link up that video as well as all of the things that I've mentioned here on my favorites list in the show notes for this episode, which will be at burlesquestripdown.com/July favorites. And you'll be able to find those all there. And I would love to hear what you have to say. What are your favorite things? What did you discover or rediscover this month that is just making you so happy? I want to hear about it. I want to know. Tell me. Email, once again, you can Facebook Burlesque Strip Down, Twitter Velvet Eau Claire, Instagram, Velvet Eau Claire. Hit me up in any of those little places. If you missed Monday's episode, we did a little flashback to some of the highlights from my interview with Ruby Jones. Of course, that interview happened last December, back in 2015. But I wanted to kind of give everybody a little bit of a reminder because we've been skirting around some of the issues of authenticity and personas and things like that lately. So I wanted to give a little condensed reminder of some of those things that she brought up because it's something that I keep referring back to. So check that out. You can find that at the homepage from burlesquestrippeddown.com. And then coming up this Monday, I'll be having, barring any issues with editing once again, my episode finally with Miss Holly Rebel, who was awesome to talk to. She was hilarious and had some great things to share. And her hot tip will be following up later next week. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always. I have loved sharing my favorite fangirly things from the month of July. I'd love to hear about yours, and make sure that you stay sexy.